You don't have to walk this path alone. I'm here, I'll take you through the hill you climb all on your own. It's steep and long. In the darkness of your world, I'll meet you on your knees and make all things new. And as Jesus takes my hand, he whispers, I got this. I got this, my baby girl, I got this.
Manna-Festations. I'm Penny Cook, and today we have a special episode for you with a father and daughter duo. My pastor, Kenneth Hennessy, and his daughter, Meghan Rathel. And I am so excited for you to hear their story today. It's going to be jam-packed with a lot of information, some joyful, some tears maybe, and challenges throughout. But at the center, God was with all of us through it. So let me give you just a brief synopsis of this before we get started. For years, Meghan and her husband Jason prayed for a child. And like many couples, their journey included tests and treatments, disappointments, heartbreak, and even a miscarriage. But after years of waiting and praying, they finally felt God leading them towards adoption. Then in 2020, right in the middle of COVID, and the world was turned upside down for all of us, they began the adoption process. And that's where the story of a tiny little baby girl named Willa Kate begins. But before we dive into your story, you know the meaning behind the podcast, Manna-Festations, speaks to the provision of God for his children. And we often associate manna with bread out of the story of Exodus. So a question I always ask my guests is, what is your favorite type of bread? Megan?
Well, mine is going to be homemade blueberry banana bread.
Oh, I've
delicious.
never tried that.
It's
The
amazing.
blueberry is my favorite anything. My favorite fruit, my favorite bread. That sounds good. What about you, Brother Cam?
Is blueberry banana bread that Megan made.
Oh, okay. A little more specific.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
sounds good. Well, today I'm going to gift you with a friend of mine who bakes all natural fresh meal bread, and she has banana nut bread. You said hopefully you like that as well.
Yes.
Good. So, Megan, before we get started with Willa Kate's story, tell us a little bit about your family and your life right now.
Okay, so right now, well, I'm married. I have one child. Willow, of course, is our daughter. She's 4. She'll be starting kindergarten in August. My husband is Jason. He works for Home Depot as a system services engineer. And I am the principal at an elementary school, a local elementary school. I am working on getting my doctorate degree as well. And then, of course, involved in our church activities.
Doctorate degree is quite a challenge. I've been there, done that. So good for you. How close are you to
I've
finishing
just
that?
started. I'm
Oh,
one
okay.
semester in.
Okay. Well, you
So
can
about
do
8
it.
to go.
Yep. You can do it, I'm sure. So you've got a full season
Yes, ma'am.
of life ahead of you with all of that going on. So, Brother Ken, what about you? What's your life like right now?
I'm married. My wife Renee, and we've got 4 kids, and we've got 6 grandkids, 7 grandkids, 6, and I lose track sometimes. And but just wife works at one of the high schools in the office here in Douglas County, and I've been here at Union Grove Baptist Church for 37 years as pastor. So we're kind of excited about our children and their children and Willa Kate and being with the grandkids. And we just got a new grandbaby. My son had a grandbaby. His wife had a grandbaby. And
Another girl.
had a baby, another girl,
Yep.
Amelia, Lucille, Hennessy. So we're just excited the changes that God has brought in our life at this stage of life.
So, Megan, before Willa Kate entered your life, there was already a long season of praying and waiting. So, can you take us back to those years and let's start your story right there?
Sure. So Jason and I got married when we were relatively young, like 23 to 24. We got married in 2011. And initially, I'm a pretty goal-oriented person, so I had my life planned out. I wanted to wait till we were about 29, 30 to even try to have a baby. So, we waited a while, and then when we got to the point where we were ready to go down that avenue, things just didn't work quite as quickly as we had expected.
Right.
Kind of caught me off guard because I've never had any issues or any concern with that.
Mhm.
And really, it's not something that we talk about frequently.
Yeah.
So to me, it was a shock that it didn't happen naturally. And then doing some research and stuff, I was actually surprised the amount of people that it does take a minute for that to be
Mhm.
effective. So of course we had those initial struggles. After we had tried for about a year and a half, we saw a fertility specialist in Atlanta, top of the line. I can remember researching, and I think she had 96% of her patients were successful within 6 months.
Oh,
So she
wow.
had the
Okay.
highest success rate. And so I was like, this is the one we're going to go with. So we met with her. She ran a whole battery of tests, and everything came back textbook perfect. That was what she always told me. Like, you are textbook perfect. Everything's perfect. So they ran all these tests on Jason. Everything came back again perfectly fine.
Perfect.
Nothing to be concerned about. So they took it to the next level, level 2 testing.
Mhm.
Same thing. Everything was textbook perfect. So we went through probably 6 months of just testing any kind of test that they could think of. She's like, we're doing everything under the kitchen sink is what we're going to try
Yeah.
to figure out. And it was literally perfect. There's absolutely no reason for it. Our So we were diagnosed at that point with unexplained infertility. And the doctor told me, she was like, so much of the time we assume that like one thing has to happen for you to
Mhm.
have a baby. And she was like, that's not the case. There's millions of things that have to happen at just the right time. So she's like, it really is a God thing. Like, we want it to be a science thing. We want it to be something that we can control.
And that can fix.
But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you can't.
Right.
And that was my biggest concern. I'm a fixer. Like, I'm second born. I'm
Me
a
too.
problem solver.
Yeah.
I've got a plan for everything. And so I didn't like the fact that I couldn't fix it.
Yeah.
So anyways, we did 4 rounds of IUI, 3 rounds of IVF. None of them took, like, at no point did it work until that 7th round. That 7th round, I did get pregnant.
Mhm.
And went to the fertility specialist. We had an ultrasound, tested positive. Heart rate was great. Everything was perfect. So we ended up having about 3 different appointments there. I think we're going to get to this again in a little bit more
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
little bit later. But so that officially was, we did officially have an opportunity to get pregnant at one point.
Okay. And actually, we're going to move right there. So we're
Okay.
just going to keep going. But I do want to stop where we're at now and talk about, you've tried all this. I'm sure from what I've read,
Mhm.
there's medication involved when
Yeah.
you're going through the IVF and all. So did that affect you? And were you tired a lot? Were you frustrated? How did that affect your faith also during that time?
I mean, I think physically it was just exhausting in general. Yes, the medicine makes you feel terrible, and I hate shots.
Yeah.
And so many shots. I mean, thousands and thousands of shots
Mm.
that we had to take. So that definitely wasn't the fun part of it. Um, I think worse than the physical part was like the mental or the emotional part.
Yeah.
Again, I've always been a pretty goal-oriented person, and I've always been able to achieve really anything that I set out to
Mhm.
accomplish. And so I can remember telling Jason, like, this is the first thing I've ever in my life not been able to do that I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally out of
it's a
your
hard-
control.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to kind of grapple
Yeah.
with. Doesn't matter how hard I study, how hard I try. There's nothing I can do to make this work. And that was very frustrating. As far as my faith is concerned, yeah, there were definitely some rocky points and some rocky periods because, again, it was the first major trial I think that we had ever had to endure. And it's frustrating to you because you start getting into that point where you start thinking about what's fair and what's not fair and seeing things that happen. And whenever you get to that spot, it's just not a good place to be. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
can't start thinking about who it's fair to have kids and who can't. So you've really got to get out of that space. But
Yeah.
there was definitely a time that we kind of went down that road, and I can remember having told him, I know God speaks to people. I believe God speaks to people, but for some reason I cannot hear him. Like, I need a burning bush. I need a billboard that says, Megan, this is what I need you to do.
Right.
Because we were also talking about a lot of really big topics that I didn't really want to deal with either. Like, when you talk about IVF and then kind of like the whole abortion conversation and trying to kind of figure out like where my faith lies and what I'm okay with doing versus what I'm not okay
True.
with.
Yeah.
And I had a really hard time with that. And then you think too about like the judgment of other people and what other people are going to think. So we did our research, we talked to the doctor, and the Lord just provided. Like it worked out perfectly, like with IVF specifically. Like I knew that if we got to the point, I could not leave embryos, I could not destroy embryos,
Right.
and I couldn't give embryos away. So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really know what to do. We're just going to kind of do this. And it worked out perfectly
Right.
that we had none left, none destroyed. Like, we used every embryo because I do believe in the safety of life. I do
Right.
believe,
Yeah.
that every life is.
And even though, and I know there's scripture on this, but there's also a song, even though that we can't see what God's doing at the time, his hand is always there.
100%.
Always.
And once you come through it, it's easy to
Oh,
see.
sure.
Yeah.
Looking back. Yeah.
Mm.
So our oldest daughter, they went 7.5 years trying. And they didn't do IVF, but I know she was under a lot of doctor's cares and testing and all of that, and went through the same thing. And, and for some of our listeners, I'm sure some of you may have walked down this road, or maybe you're in it right now. But, things like when Mother's Day comes around and you're going through those times, I'm sure that was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I read now with social media, you read about that. People are at least sensitive to
Mm-hmm.
that. So that's hard to go to. But okay, so the IVF worked one time,
Mhm.
and you were pregnant, and then what happened?
So it worked one time. We were having a major snowstorm, and we had gone and done the transplant and everything, but it worked. Everything was good. We went to the doctor, got a positive pregnancy test, and I think we were both in so much shock. I think looking back now, maybe it was God's provision. As far as not to, it's difficult to say there was not a connection with the baby, because there was. Like, it's a
Sure.
huge loss. But I think that because of the trauma that we had been through, we kind of were protecting our hearts and protecting ourselves. Like, I refused to buy anything. I was like, let's just see what happens. But of course, it still is a horrible thought when you lose the baby. So
Sure.
we had about 4 ultrasounds, and everything was perfect. So the heart rate was about 160 beats per minute. We had done 2 transplants. Like, we had transplanted 2 embryos.
Okay. Yeah.
So one had taken. We knew that it was just the one baby. The heart rate was great and very stable. It was like 165, 150 pretty much every time. We had actually gone to the 4th appointment and been released from the fertility specialist. She was like, "You're good. You just need to go to the OBGYN, and you've been discharged from
Wow.
the specialist."
Okay.
And so we were like, "Oh my gosh," because again, there was nothing wrong, so they didn't have to monitor anything.
Okay.
So she was
Yeah.
like, "You'll just go through your regular doctor." So we went to see Dr. Sun. She was absolutely amazing. I had done some research because my doctor did not deliver babies at that time. So I had picked the top of the line doctor in Atlanta. So we went in. It was MLK Day was the day that we went, and Jason was there with me. Waited for forever. There was such an issue. The doctor was delivering another baby, so they were trying to rearrange patients, but they were like, "No, you need to see Dr. Sun. This is your initial appointment. We'll make sure that's done for you." So we go back there. She was amazing. She does the ultrasound, and it was just this lingering silence. And I was so nervous. But again, I'm thinking this is different technology, different machine, So, and Jason's like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" And she's just not answering. And I'm like, "Calm down, just calm down. Like, everything's fine, everything's fine." And so then she was like, "Okay, there's no heartbeat." So that was, of course, a shock, even though I say, like, I don't think that there was as strong of a connection as I probably would have expected. It was still a shock to hear.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, again, being pretty practical, like, okay, so how sure are you? She was like, "I'm 100% sure there is no heartbeat." So I was like, "So what do we need to do? Like, what's our next step?" And she told me that we needed to do a DNC because of, specific things or whatnot.
Sure.
So she was like, "Go home, think about it, and I'm going to call you this evening." Well, Jason was just beside himself. Like, he was
Yeah,
just
I'm sure.
irate. And he was like, "No offense, but you don't know what you're doing. We 2 days ago just went and had an ultrasound. The baby's fine. We're going to leave. We're going to get a second opinion."
Yeah.
She was very gracious, very kind. So it was right down the street from the fertility specialist. So we just drove right down there, right by Northside Hospital. Jason went up. It was our lunch break, so we couldn't get in touch with the doctor's office. He couldn't get him. He ends up going in a back door, just like tracking down a nurse. And he told her what happened, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, get her up here." So came up. Now, of course, I'm just squalling my eyeballs out, like, so upset. They took us in a back door because they didn't want to take us through the main entrance where all the people waiting,
Yeah.
don't want to cause a scene. So it took us back there. Dr. Nam then, like, literally was not even prepared for this, but she did the ultrasound and confirmed that there was no heartbeat. So what happened, the baby's heart filled with fluid. So where there was a perfectly fine and beating heart, something over the next 48 hours happened and
Yeah.
caused the baby's heart to fill with fluid. So she
Mhm.
confirmed that there definitely, was no heartbeat. And
Right.
there's, of course, nothing you can do. So she recommended we do proceed with the DNC, um, which was horrible too. So,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Emotionally, that was probably more so than the physical. Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so tell me, how did God meet you in that season when you've lost the baby now? And
I think that at that point, um, we kind of hit that point of like brokenness.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Where I think I realized like that was kind of like my neutral level where I realized like, okay, there's nothing I can do. Like I paid all this money. I've done top of the line fertility stuff. Like I've
yeah,
literally done everything I can humanly do and it still didn't work. Like I don't have a choice but to put my trust in God.
right. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of when my attitude towards it changed and I stopped kind of having that negative viewpoint, that frustrating viewpoint, and just kind of realize like if this is going to happen, it's in God's time.
Right.
And but there's literally nothing I can humanly do to make this work on my own.
Yeah.
Without,
That is the best place to get to, but that is the hardest
it's
place
hard to get there.
to get to. It is. Different circumstances in my life, but I've walked that same journey as far
Mhm.
as needing to be there and praying to God. It's like, I don't know how to do this,
Mhm.
but he's there. All right. So Dad, you're watching all this going on. Um, what was it like being
It
your father through
it
that?
it was hard. Part of it, I knew some of what was going on. Some of it I didn't know. But I knew when they found out that the baby's heart was not beating, was during a snowstorm. They had to borrow my 4-wheel drive truck to get to the hospital and do all that kind of stuff. So we knew, and it was very frustrating. And my faith was in God, but I was also questioning. Okay, God, I don't
I
understand
don't know
this.
what you're doing.
Why is this going on? What are you doing? And it was just a real tough time. Uh, you know, for me and Renee personally, we try to support Meg and Jason, all we could. And we knew God had a plan. We just didn't have a clue what in the world that
Could
might be.
see it, right.
Yeah.
And so, and you were there, you and your wife, Renee, through the whole time, those
Mhm.
years
Mhm.
before. So how did you
Mhm.
support her then? Like even before the
They didn't
IVF
know about it.
taken?
They didn't know about it.
Oh, they didn't know
We,
about that.
a lot
Okay.
of this we didn't know all of the
Okay.
specifics. We made some guesses and
Yeah.
had some suspicions, but we knew there were some issues, but we didn't know all the specifics.
Right.
But we just tried to be encouraging, and
Right.
I tried to help them when I could. I cut the grass when I needed, just do whatever I could.
Yeah. That's physical and emotional help. Yep, that's perfect. All right. So after years of trying and praying, you began feeling God leading you now towards adoption. You were just saying
Mhm.
you had that peace, kind of like, I've done all I can do.
Mhm.
Now it's God. So what did that process look like, the adoption, where you started that?
So we kind of went back and forth about adoption, honestly, and it kind of worked out beautifully. Same thing; it was very much a God thing. At no point did I ever question my ability to love another child. We had so many situations where family, friends, or whatever, we had helped raise their children. So that's something
Right.
Jason and I had always talked about. I've always wanted to adopt a baby, like that had always been part of my plan. Initially, I wanted to have a biological child and then adopt a child.
Okay.
When I found out how much it costs to adopt a child, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like I'll never do this. And so we joked around that this is what God forced us down this path because he knew I would never willingly do that on my own because I'm kind of funny about my money. But anyway, so we got to that decision. I was never worried about my ability to love a child. I was worried about other people's ability to love it. I was so
Right.
afraid that if we brought this baby into our family, I would love him or her with my whole heart, but everybody else may not accept it because it wasn't my biological child.
Child. Right.
So that's really what I struggled with. We decided to, so we had the miscarriage in January and then decided to start the adoption process in June.
Now, what year was this?
This would have been 2019.
Okay, so right before COVID.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And so when I say we started the process, we started it like called the company, had a conversation, and then we really slow rolled it because I was very hesitant. In fact, they told us most people get this paperwork and everything done in like 1 to 2 months, and we took our time. It was like 7 or 8 months
Oh,
before we
okay.
officially went active. Just
And that
trying to
was
process.
here in the United States, so
Mhm.
a local adoption as far as not overseas.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So we worked with FAC, which was Faithful Adoption Consultants. And the reason I say it was a God thing, so we actually had two friends who adopted through that company.
Okay.
So one was Mandy Davidson. Well, she's Mandy Kelly now, Candy Rainwater's niece, I believe.
Okay.
She had adopted Tinley, and we went to high school with her. So I saw her whole adoption story unfold. And that was kind of like my first thing that was like, okay, so this could be possible, right? Like this seems doable. I had reached out to her. She gave me lots of advice, and it's just, absolutely the best thing that we've ever done in our life. And then because of her, I got connected to Bree, who adopted Stella. So I had seen two people's adoption story unfold, which I had never seen firsthand before. So again, I feel like it was a God thing to have
Sure.
those things
Yeah.
planted in front of us. So we went with the company that they both used, and we went active. Well, the end of January is when we officially were supposed to go active, but we had a case manager who was supposed to manage our situation who broke her knee, had to go on medical leave. They put it on pause.
Oh,
So then at the end of February is when we went active, like when our portfolio went out there. And then, of course, COVID came in March.
right.
So it was literally a couple weeks where we got like a case or two, and then everything was shut down.
Stopped.
So Georgia was considered a hot spot. So for a large portion of that, we weren't allowed to adopt to any other state because states wouldn't allow the travel
The
back and
travel,
forth.
right.
hmm
Yes.
So we saw very few cases, really the whole 2020 year,
Mm.
and it just did not go well. We renewed our contract with FAC that following winter, and then after just really thinking about it and praying about it, I just decided that we needed to go a different direction. So at that time, Bree had decided to join an adoption um, company as well. So we changed. So a lot of money, switched again, redid everything, profile books, like all of it. And so we got that rolling and decided to work with an entity called Hearts of Adoption in Florida. So it was like an extra $1,000 to see their cases.
Okay.
So we paid for that, and then we went active like May 30th with Hearts of Adoption. This is 2021.
Okay. So we're a year past. Okay.
So we've just been kind of slow rolling. And I think that time and the wait was really good for us because you see a lot of cases and you kind of deal with some maybe biases that you didn't recognize that you
Mhm.
had, and having to make some really tough choices about like drug use and alcohol use and things like that. And, kind of really figuring out what you're okay with, what you're not okay with. And I just think it made Jason and I a lot closer. It made our faith in God better. And we kind of got to the point where we were just like, you know what? At the end of the day, God is going to make sure we get the baby that we need.
Yeah.
And so we got to the point where like, we're just going to say yes to every case. Any case that comes, we're going to say yes. If it's meant to be, it's going to be. If it's not meant to be, it's
You
not going
walk,
to happen.
right.
So this is like May 30th. June 2nd, we got a call. They did things in the reverse order. So typically we would send our profile book. The parent would choose us. Like we would say, yes, we want to come. And the parent would say, this is who I want to do it with. For
Right.
this particular one, they gave the mom everybody's books. So she picked our book on June 2nd out of every
Wow.
book that they had. And so we got a call and they were like, hey, you've got a match. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like we've been doing this for a year and a half. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe somebody gave us a match. And they were like, yeah, do you want to move forward with it? And gave us our profile. And we were like, absolutely, yes. So that was when I guess we became under contract.
Mhm.
Again, based on the stuff that we had previously, like we told our parents and kind of kept it close to our heart, didn't really want to tell anybody else. Um, and just kind of waited it out to see what would happen. I think again, guarding my heart, I was like, this is probably not going to happen. This is going to be a failed match. It's going to be a failed adoption, but we'll write it out and see what happens. So I went through June, July. There was like minimal contact with the adoption agency. And then she was supposed to be born September 24th. So the beginning of August, like maybe the 14th, 15th, something
Mhm.
around that time, something was just randomly said about, I said, do you have any ultrasound pictures? Could we just get a picture to kind of see? And they were like, oh, yeah, she's got a lot of hair. And I was like, I'm sorry, you said she, is it a girl?
No, I started to ask if you knew whether or
No.
not it was a girl.
And she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but I thought we knew. Let me go back and look at the documents." And so then she just kind of like casually sent over this long document that said, it was a girl. I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh," so just like out of the blue. So that was the point that I think he realized, like, this is maybe real.
Yeah.
Like this might really work out.
Were you beginning to feel before you got that it's just timing is just impossible? It just kept being put off and off. I mean,
Yeah, it just felt odd. Like because there was no connection, there was no relationship with the birth mom. Um, and then the adoption agency was kind of odd as well. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You couldn't really communicate. There wasn't open communication. So we would just get this random update like once a month. And it's like,
Mhm.
are we doing this? Are we not doing this? Like I don't really know. Um, so it's interesting, just a lot of prayer and a lot of
Yes.
hoping.
And that was the one that was in Florida. The agency
Mhm,
was in Florida.
mhm,
Okay. So then later on,
mhm.
Willow enters the story. So when do you remember first hearing about her? Well, now you know it's a her.
Mhm.
So what else did you learn before she was born?
So, we got the call on the 25th of August. Well, we didn't get a call. Let me back up a little bit. So, we had woken up on August the 26th to get ready for work. It was a Thursday morning, and I was in the shower getting ready and everything. Got out of the shower. Jason was still laying in the bed. He was like, check your email. And I'm like, what is it? Like, just tell me what it says.
Yeah.
And he was like, the birth mother was admitted to the hospital last night. She may go into labor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world? So, we sent an email back. We're like, hey, what's going on? Tell us what happened. I went ahead and went to work. The case manager responded that they were going to get an Uber. They were going to send her home. She's fine. False labor.
Okay.
Everything was good. So we went on with our day. And about 25 minutes after that, probably, we got another email that said the C-section is scheduled for 12 o'clock today.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, oh my goodness. So they were giving her the shots, the
Mhm.
steroid shots to help her lungs.
Mhm.
So I left work immediately. We went home. Our house was not together at all.
I was starting to say, were you ready for the baby, nursery, or anything? No,
No,
that time. Okay.
because again, I think it was like that heart preservation.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't even really want to do a baby shower ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I
Makes
can't
sense.
have this room set up and it not
And it
work.
called for it. Sure.
So
And it was so early,
it was
Yeah.
still very
very
early.
early, and you were protecting yourself.
Yes,
And it was just like out of the blue, just like,
right.
hey,
Over a
you
month.
need to,
Yeah.
you need to come to Tampa today.
Mhm.
Wow.
So Jason and I went to, I went home. We went to Bye Bye Baby in Kennesaw real quick and just bought
Mhm.
everything we could find, everything we could think of, and came home, threw all of our stuff together, and then just drove to Tampa.
Yeah.
And she told us, she was like, "You're not going to be able to see her for 48 hours. She'll have 48 hours to sign the adoption paperwork." But I was
Okay.
like, I just need to be there and I need to be close.
Yeah. Sure.
So we drove straight to Tampa, found an Airbnb, and just message, hey, how's it going? Anything going on? And so we got an email that afternoon and said, baby girl is here. She was, they said 4 pounds.
Mhm.
She's 4 pounds and in the NICU.
Mhm.
And so we responded back like, okay, what does that mean? She's in the NICU. Like, can she breathe? Is she doing okay? Like,
Yeah.
can you give us any details? And she was like, that's all I know.
Oh, okay.
So, for about the first 24 hours, like, again, we didn't know what we were dealing with.
Right.
We knew that she was early. We knew she was about 4 weeks early, but even that, the mother did not seek prenatal care until June. So they weren't even sure that the due date was accurate.
Oh, okay.
Knowing
Yeah.
that and she really only ended up being 3 pounds, we just weren't sure like what we were looking at,
Yeah.
So we were down in Tampa, and then the case manager called us and told us that basically the hospital had messed up, that the birth mother's very young, and kind of immature in a sense. She was dealing with this all on her own, had no family
Mhm.
whatsoever. And so after she delivered the baby, she'd asked to see her, and the nurses told her no. They
Mhm.
said that since she was giving the baby up for adoption, she couldn't see her or hold her.
Yeah.
Which, of course, they should not have done because it's her baby.
Right. Yeah.
And if you
And
just
she had to sign the papers at that point.
exactly
Yeah.
carried this baby, you delivered this baby, the least they could have done is let you
Sure.
hold and see that baby. So she got mad and discharged herself from the hospital less than
Mhm.
24 hours after having given birth.
Yeah.
You know, And they tried to talk her down and all that stuff, but she left and she said she was not going to put the baby up for adoption, that she was going to keep her because that was still her child.
So she left the hospital, but baby is still in NICU at this
Mhm.
point. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, we were like, well, what can we do? Is there can I talk to her? And she was like, no, she wants a closed adoption. So we just prayed. We prayed and we have been very quiet about all of this. I didn't want anybody to know anything. We had told people we were adopting, but I kept everything as close to the chest as possible because, again, it was like a self-preservation.
Sure.
After everything we had been through, I didn't want people asking me questions. I didn't want anything to fall through. So this was the first time that I was like, the only thing I know to do is to post this on Facebook and ask everybody I know to pray.
Get people to pray. Right.
So that's exactly what we did. And I can tell you that I think that's the only way we survived that weekend. We could literally feel the prayers because we're just like walking around in this house in a city where we have nothing, you can't focus on anything but this baby.
Right.
There's nobody there around us.
Yeah.
It's just there's nothing to do but pray. So the next day came, she, this was a well that was the Friday was the day she decided she was going to change her mind. So Saturday came and the adoption agency called again, had the same conversation, and I was like, can we please talk to her? And she was like, I don't think she's going to go for that, like she's really not happy right now, she's decided this is what she's going to do. And I was like, please just ask her if I can talk to her. I will meet her somewhere, I will take her to eat something, just whatever she wants to do, I'll meet with her. Because at this point now I'm attached. You know what I
Of
mean? Like,
course. Yeah.
so I'm just like, I want that baby. So she agreed. And she was like, I can't believe she did it. I don't know if she's going to show up, but she
Yeah.
wanted some kind of like dragon fruit lemonade that Applebee's had.
Yeah.
And so we paid for an Uber to pick her up, to bring her to Applebee's, to meet her there. Jason and I met her. I was a nervous wreck. We waited out front and saw her get out of the Uber. And I'll never forget, like, she gets out of the Uber. And again, she's young, she's cute. And the Uber driver's just like, look into the window. And I just remember thinking, like, that's so odd. Like,
Yeah.
what's up with this? So we go inside and we ate. And it was just a great conversation. She's been through a lot. She's had a really hard life, and it really put into perspective for me. I can tell you at this time, we had talked during this era, like 2020, 2021, we talked a lot about privilege, right? And so I had mixed feelings on it, whether I thought that it was a valid thing or invalid or whatnot. When I sat down and had a conversation with her, I realized how privileged my life was, right? Because I had always thought, like, my parents didn't have a lot of money, like my parents struggled, like, I'm not a privileged person. Like, I work hard, my parents work hard, but sitting across from somebody, I could 100% see, like, I have so much to be thankful for. I have two parents who raised me, who took care of us. We got a roof over our head. We always had food. Like, we had people who believed in us. We were never abused. Like, that's when like, for me, the difference in privilege and, inequities and different things like that. So I immediately fell in love with her. Like, we had an instant bond. Um, and she told us then that she had several other children, and one of them was 2. One of them had been a stillborn baby. So she had delivered the baby. And then the other one, the most recent one, the third baby, had been born and died of SIDS at about 6 months along.
So she had 2 that had died.
So I think, again, it was self-preservation for her. She was young, but she's like, I can't have another baby not live.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this. So, but she told us, she said that every single person in her life told her that she should not give this baby up for adoption, that she was making the wrong decision. Even the Uber driver who dropped her off tried to convince her not to give that baby up for adoption. And she said, she literally told me before I got out of the car, you can do this. The life you give your baby is going to be so much better than anything anybody else can give her. And she said, but I know that they're wrong. And she said, I can't do that. She said, there's one person in my life, and it's my doctor. And my doctor told me, I'm so proud of you because you're going to change that baby's life and you're doing the right thing. And she believed in God. She told me that she was just working on getting back on her feet, that she had a mentor and she was, doing all that. And she was like, I feel like this is what God wants me to do. I feel like this is, who he wants her to be with. And one of the interesting things, too, that she mentioned when she looked, because Jason was like, what made you choose us? Like, out of the thousands of books, why did you choose the 2 of us? And she said that one of the things we put in there was my nieces, when they spent the night, were looking at fireflies, like playing with fireflies in the yard. And she said, that's what I want for her. I want her to have a two-parent
Sweet.
household where I know they're never going to get a divorce, where they're going to take her to church and they're going to take care of her. And so she's like, that's what I want for her.
Wow.
And so she told us, she said that she was going to sign the paperwork. She said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to sign the paperwork. And I'm going to walk out of your life and you'll never see me again. And I told her, I was like, I know we agreed on a close adoption, but just know we're willing and open. Like, I love you now. You're a part of our family. Like, it can be as open as you want it to be. You can call, you can FaceTime, you can text, email, you can come visit. Like, we'll work it out.
Yeah.
And she told me, she said, no, when I walk away from you today, you're never going to hear from me again.
Which is probably what she
You're
needed.
her mother. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel like God prompted you when you were feeling, I want to go talk to her, that was God moving? Because obviously he used you, I think,
Mm-hmm.
to bring it all about.
Yeah, I think so, because I think that was out of my nature. And even Jason was like, maybe we should just wait. Like, and he's usually the one that's more like of a people person, more of like a, like a schmoozer. Everybody loves Jason. And I'm more of like a stand back and kind of, let him take the lead. But it was very obvious with her. She had a different relationship with men versus women. She seemed very uncomfortable with him. She wouldn't really look him in the eye.
Okay. Yeah.
So he took a back seat very much so, didn't say much, just kind of read off of her cues.
Yeah.
But no, I 100% think that was a God
Yeah.
thing.
It sounds like it to me. I mean, I'm just hearing that part for the first time, and it definitely sounds like that.
I think I needed to meet her too for some peace and closure.
Sure.
Because again, I loved her, and I think it was a different, I don't know, it opened up a different part of compassion for me. And even in raising Willow, I think it's important. And then I'll always be able to tell her, like, while she may never have the opportunity to meet her birth mother, I did. And I know how smart she was and how beautiful she was and how she 100% had the best intentions for her. And that's important for me because I want Willow to know you were not in this position because somebody loved you less. You're in this position because of how much she loved you.
Loved you more. Yeah.
And I think I can add my 2 cents here that it was just God's plan for Megan to pursue that, so that, like she said, so that she would meet the mother and just have that slow. Because I mean, it's even changed our perspective toward her.
Sure.
How blessed we are to have her, but what a treasure that she is.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So take us back now to when you were first able to see her and hold her, and what was that like?
Okay, so I can remember, first of all, when we had lunch with her at Applebee's, I was like, do you have a picture? And she was like, yes. And so she showed us a picture of her, and it was not a great picture. Like, it was very grainy and it was dark, and so we couldn't really see. And so I was like, describe how she looks. Like, tell me how she looks. And she was like, she's got a lot of hair, and she's like, she's just very hairy all over, which, premature babies are.
Yes,
right?
That's true. Yeah.
And so I can remember her being like, she's my little monkey baby. And I was like, and I can remember telling Jason, like, don't call her that. And he's like, it's her child. Like, it's okay. But that was like my first moment, like, defense. I'm like, don't talk about my baby now. I'm like, no. But she described her, talked about how she looked and everything. So just 4 days after she was born, we were able to go see her. So August 30th was the day we signed papers, saw her there. She waited to see us, gave me a hug, and then left. So went straight to the hospital, walked in. We're scared to death. And I've been around babies my whole life.
Yeah.
So we walked in, I saw her, and I can just remember telling Jason, oh my gosh, she's so cute. Like, she really is cute. Like, look how cute she is. And she was 3 pounds and 12 ounces when she was born. When we got there, she was 3 pounds and 8 ounces.
Yeah.
So she was the tiniest thing I had ever seen in my life. And they were like, do you want to hold her? I was like, yes. And picking her up, like, I was so afraid to hold her because I had never seen something so tiny. And even like changing her clothes, she didn't have on cute clothes. So I was like, can we please put her in something cute? They're like, yes. It took us like 30 minutes to change her clothes. And the nurse finally came in and she's like, you're not going to break her. And I'm like, we might though. We really. And her first bath, I made Jason give her first bath. I was so afraid to touch her. But there was just this instant like love, like we just instantly, she was our baby. And, very protective, very instinctual. It just, again, it was like a God thing. I think that we just immediately fell in love with her. And then at night, we couldn't stay in the NICU overnight. So they had a NICU camera. And so the whole family was just like addicted to it. We watched her all night long. She was a little BAD. The nurses would have to turn it off. She's like crying and throwing a fit and whatever. But no, there was definitely an instant connection with her. for everybody, but especially with me and her.
That's sweet. So one of the sweetest parts of this story is the relationship. The one I know about that she shares with her grandfather, Brother Ken, and she calls you Puppy, I think. And so while this beautiful little girl was growing and thriving, though, y'all were establishing a very good relationship and still today. But somewhere along in that season, everything's going great now. Something else happened unexpectedly when you were diagnosed a couple of years from
2023.
2023 with cancer, and you faced serious surgery and a long recovery.
Yes.
But he's back now, as you can see. So I want you to take us a little bit through that time and what that was like. There, everybody's happy now. Willow's on the scene, and family's all together and joyful, and this happens.
Well, it completely caught us off guard. Was totally unexpected, and we're grateful that the doctors saw an issue and took me to the hospital so that they were able to diagnose me early enough to that I'm cancer free now, and we thank the Lord for that. But it was definitely a shock. But you know, it was all part of God's plan. In Willow, I mean, thought about this while we've been talking. That you know, she's even been a part of it just because she loves me for who knows why. And we laugh when she was first starting to walk. We would go over to their house, and she would be excited that we're coming. And I would always let Renee go in first because she's the baby person. And Willow would run right past her and come to me.
Straight to you.
And I'm like, okay, you know, I don't know why, but I'll take this. But and even when I was in the hospital and going through some real difficult times, she was always worried about me. And I think she made her mom and dad bring her even as a 2 or 3 year old to come check on me and make sure Poppy was okay. Just
strong attachment then.
She's always looked after me and made sure that I was okay.
Well, talk a little bit about your recovery. The surgery goes well, although it's very intense, and then you got a long recovery process, and you're a pastor of a church. Talk a little bit about that, what that's like.
It was very hard. The surgery was very hard. I had what they call the Whipple procedure, where they took out my gallbladder, part of my pancreas, and redid my anatomy, whatever that means. But then I had 6 months of chemo, which was very hard. But our church family here at Eni Road was very kind and gracious and supportive of us, which really helped us through this time. And I was able to most of the time preach about every other Sunday. Once I recovered from the surgery and going through the chemo, I was able to preach about every other Sunday. And even though it was hard and difficult, but we were able to get through that. And then I've had some other issues, health-related issues that are kind of indirectly related to the surgery, but we can't figure out exactly what's going on, and that's kind of set me back. But you know, God's working, and it's just I've just had to learn a lot of patience and slow down, and don't have the strength that I would like. But you know, my family was very supportive, and the church, and you know, I had a peace. I tell this when I was diagnosed, I didn't do any research. I didn't want to know what I had, because I knew my children and my wife Renee and all would research and make sure everything was done. But looking back, I just had a peace, you know, about everything, and I believe that was from God, and He's brought us through, and we're seeing an improvement now, and I feel better. Just grateful to be alive and be able to share in what's going on with life.
And so, like you said, you had 6 months of chemo and recovering from surgery before that, where you were actually out of the pulpit. This church, we had a loose connection, a very tight connection. Now we had a loose connection to it then, and it didn't miss a beat. Though, boy, the support was here all the time.
The people really stepped up and kept everything going, took care of things. so that I didn't have to worry about things. And they still fuss at me for doing too much, and they're very concerned and very compassionate, and I'm very grateful for them and their support and help. And that's a big part of helping us get through this.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of that's God's love in action.
Hmm.
It's easy to speak it, but when you've really got to step up and be the hands and feet of Jesus to make something keep going
Yeah.
and help His will to still be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think we get back to the word manna. I think that was a lot of the manna being provided. You talk about God's provision, and same for you with Willa Kate. He provided it day by day, whether you could see it every day or not. When you look back, it's easy to see. So you've shared that one of the things, not here, you haven't shared it yet, but with us personally, one of the things you love now is getting away just to physically rest and mentally recharge spiritual things and enjoy nature and all. Is that that's your quiet time with God? How does that refresh?
Yeah, it just I'm probably very much an introvert, and I'm kind of been a loner all my life. And I just I've always enjoyed being outside in the woods and fishing and just like the quietness and nature. Enjoy nature and seeing that, and it's kind of the way that God can refreshes me and renews and restores me when I have those opportunities that I can go do.
Good sermon inspiration time.
So yeah, well, and I can think. It's amazing how clear my mind is sometimes when I'm up in the mountains, away from everybody. Things just come to me. Yeah.
I get that at the ocean, although the ocean's a lot further away than the mountains, but good time.
Yeah.
So for someone listening today who's maybe walking through uncertainty, maybe something we touched on, adoption, sickness, parenting, maybe they're just simply waiting on God for an answer to something. What would you want them to know, Megan?
I would say just no matter how difficult it is, no matter how much you feel alone, that God is always there. And I know that it's easier to say it than to feel it, but that um one day you'll understand, like the pieces will come together. And just like with us, like I could not have imagined a child more perfect than Willow. And I say now, like I could not have handpicked a child that better fit our family. Like we love her with our whole heart. So it's easy now to see how God was with us through every single step of the process, even when we didn't necessarily feel it at that time. So just continue to trust and keep faith that it's all going to work out.
Yeah. And he handed you a little firecracker.
Oh, yes, he did.
And I mean that in the most affectionate way. But she is precious.
She is on our toes.
What about from your perspective, what you've gone through? What would you like somebody to know?
Well, I agree with everything Megan said, but also just have faith in God and that He is in control and He is working, and we just have to trust Him even when things don't turn out quite like we like or want. But also I want to add to be open, even if you're not going through a difficult time, for opportunities that you may have to minister or help somebody who is going through a difficult time. And if it's okay, I want to share a quick story.
Yeah.
When I had my surgery and it was really really low, an acquaintance of mine who has inoperable pancreatic cancer called and tried to get in touch with me, and I wasn't answering the phone, and I didn't really want to talk to anybody, and he kept calling through different people and saying, "Hey, I need to talk to Ken." And so I finally talked to him. But it was amazing because he ended up he was going through the chemo that I was going to end up going through and all. But God really used him to encourage me. From the moment that we had that conversation, when I when I finally answered the call, God really used that in a positive way to just encourage me, and then He really encouraged me during the chemo, and we've become good friends since then. But sometimes we see somebody struggling or going through something, and we're kind of passive. But if God puts something on our heart to get in touch with somebody or to say something, we need to. And I'm just grateful for Sean for his insistence that I call him, because I use that in a very positive way.
Yeah. And God God knew the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I
And
needed to talk
and
to
I think
somebody.
he puts people in our
Hmm.
life, and sometimes
Hmm.
it's unexpected people.
Yes.
Um, I went through something just this last week similar to that. Um, from I had asked God that I had a decision to make, and I really needed a sign, even though the Bible says we shouldn't seek signs. I needed to know for sure I'm doing the right thing at the right time. And he had laid all the pieces, like we're talking about the puzzle pieces, but I just wasn't seeing it come together. And it wasn't that I wasn't trusting God. I think I wasn't trusting me,
Mm.
to be reading his
Right.
signs right. But and after I just finally laid it down and said, okay, God, and this is yours, and I I'm going with it because I feel you saying okay. I got just an out of the blue text message from somebody that I know well, but we're not prayer partners
Hmm.
really. And she said, I've been praying for you all day. And I mean, all day. And I don't even know why, but I just wanted to let you know. And so, I wrote her back and I said, okay, I know why. And thank you,
Hmm.
and then she
Yeah.
told me, um, that it was exactly about because she broadly knew what I was praying about, but not specifics. She said, "That's exactly what I was praying for." I was like, "Okay, I don't even know how you knew that, but
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah.
So yeah, he's right there.
He knows
He's
exactly what we
yeah.
need when we need. Mm.
So these stories today have been a beautiful reminder of God's plans, and sometimes His plans very different than ours, but they're always filled with His purpose. Sometimes we have years of waiting, prayer, heartbreak, adoption, healing, but through every season, no matter what, God was providing daily manna, always exactly when it was needed. So we're going to close with a prayer, and then I'll come back on for just some closing words. And most of the time, I'll do the prayer myself here just to kind of close us out. But I'm going to ask you, Brother Pugh, if you'll just close us out in prayer.
All right. All right. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank you for today. And we just thank you most of all that you love us, Lord, and that you're so very much involved in our lives, even when we don't see it, God. And we just thank you for the gifts that you've given us. We thank you for Willow and for the gift of her and for all of our family. And we just pray for her. And we thank you for Miss Peony and for this podcast. And we just pray that, Lord, that you would use this in this ministry, Lord, to minister and to touch other people and encourage them, Lord, that might be going through a difficult time. You just need to hear a word from you. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Yeah. So, Brother Ken and Megan, thank you for joining us on the podcast. A beautiful testimony of God's goodness today. So, this is Penny Cook with Manna-Festations, trusting God for today. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please follow, subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. See you next Monday.
The voices in my heart. She walked into the Opry on that warm November day, a heart wrecked with pain and fear from the years where faded dreams and memories lay. A smile leaped in her soul as Jesus met her there. His comfort let her in, and she heard the music ring. You don't have